You're listening to Entrepreneur's Enigma, a podcast about the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. Every week, your host Seth Goldstein interviews entrepreneurs from all walks of life about their entrepreneurial journeys. From store owners to Fortune 500 CEOs, we all have stories to tell. So sit back and join us for the next 20 or so minutes while we explore the entrepreneurial world.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur's Enigma podcast. Today I am blessed to have a good guy up here. He's like, what?
I don't know about blessed, yeah.
No, I know about blessed. But Mitchell Beinhaker, Esquire,
Yes.
is a business lawyer and an estate attorney who runs a solo legal consulting practice representing business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, professionals. He's been doing it for 30 years, so he's one of those lifetime lawyers who's insane because it's a lot to be a lawyer. It's a lot.
Tell me about it.
And
Yeah.
have you been solo the whole time?
Pretty much. I mean, I've had
Yeah,
part.
if you have
I've
to
never-
think about it, you have.
I've never really had a job. Like I've never really, I've
You're
always had.
you're an entrepreneur.
Right. I've always either had partners in a small firm or on my own. Yeah.
There you go. He does real estate, risk analysis, commercial transactions, marketing, helps marketing companies, business development people, all that good stuff. He's also the author of the 10 Ways to Get Sued by Anyone and Everyone.
Yes.
Best title ever. I mean, literally, it's a short book. What is it?
Yeah, it's about 100
It's
some
100 pages.
Yeah.
Sit down like in an hour, bang it out, realize, oh my God, I've made half of these issues.
Yeah. It's
Like-
kind of like a resource guide for running
Yeah,
your business.
I bounced around. I was like, oh, I'm going to read this one today.
Yeah.
I don't have employees. I didn't really read the employee
Right. Of course.
section.
That's why it's a guide. Exactly.
It's a guide. So it's great. And Barry Cohen helped you write it because you're a
Yeah.
lawyer.
He's the guy who does the 10 Ways series. He's a friend of mine. So that's where the
Oh,
10
really?
Ways came from.
Yeah,
He's written other 10 Ways books.
I love that, man. I love
Yeah.
that. You also are the head honcho of the Accidental Entrepreneur podcast.
Yes.
And we met on Podmatch, which is a great service for podcasters to connect.
Yeah.
And where I'm like, dude, I gotta get you on. I mean, the book's great, the podcast
Appreciate
is
it.
great. He's a lawyer who is entrepreneurial because you kind of have to be when you're a lawyer. So
Well, if you're
How
a
does-
business
how
player, yeah.
exactly, how did this all get started? I mean, I know you went to Cornell, and then you went to the New York Law School.
Yeah, I
for
went to
research.
Cornell, and I think one night I was up with a buddy of mine drinking, and he's like, I'm going to law school. And I was like, all right, well, fine, I'll go to law school too. And then, I don't know, he sobered up and said, I don't want to go to law school. So then I said, well, what do I really want to do? And I think you said it off mic was,
Yes.
it's a good background for, if I always knew it was something I wanted to do in business or law or whatever, but I felt that if I went the MBA track, I'd be kind of stuck with that.
A lot of case studies too.
Yeah. And if you have a law degree, you can do a lot of things on
Mhm.
your own, even though my book probably talks about the attorneys that do it on their own and they screw it up. But, that's what kind of happened. So I went to law school saying I didn't know what I was going to do. And, I kind of fell out of law school. And then I went to work for a financial services company, kind of in-house with them. And then I was in sales because I wanted to learn sales and marketing.
Yeah.
I don't think attorneys are good business people. We really don't learn it anywhere. And you know what? And it just kind of evolved. And then my father, who passed away about 2 years ago, he was in the insurance business since, 1965. So
Oh wow!
I grew up around what was in those days insurance and became financial services and so forth. And then,
So it
I
made logical sense for
did-
you to go that direction, but then you're like, yeah. I did-
well, I was always interested in like tax planning and estate planning and business planning and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh,
it's
business
kind
planning,
of,
but who likes taxes? Jeez.
yeah, I was surprised. I was in law school. I'm like, you know what? I like tax planning. So I really didn't think I would like it. But you know what happened? Is that what happened was I had this natural market, right, of all these insurance people and all these financial professionals and accountants and that would come to me and say, hey, can you do a will for this client? Can you do a business agreement for this person? Can you do this and that? And it just kind of evolved to the point where, I gave up any licenses I had. I got out of sales and I just went full-time into law. So that probably was it was around 2009, I think.
Oh wow. Okay.
That I went full time into law, but I was, but my 32 plus years includes, from the day I graduated law school. So I always had a side legal practice along with
Yeah, 'cause if you
sales and
suffer through the bar, if you suffer through
Oh
that
yeah,
son of a
it's
gun,
definitely suffering.
you're
yeah.
going to practice it.
Questions.
I know
That
a
was
few
intense.
I know a few people that have even gone so far as
ahead.
we were talking off mic about this, that we that a lot of lawyers don't even get past the bar. They just go to law school. They're like, "Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I want to do the bar." But I know some people that passed the bar to see if they could. They passed the bar and they're like, "I still don't want to do this." They'll
Yeah.
go
I mean,
through the bar and
that's nuts.
torture.
I know, it was hard. It was
And
like
your
6
and
months
your
of my
bar,
life.
it's
I
like
did
your bar
nothing
did,
but study,
yeah.
eat some food, go for a run, come back, go to bed. I mean, I was like, and
Nuts.
I didn't even take New York. So I'm admitted in New York now because I waived in about a year ago.
Oh,
But up until
wow.
recently, you couldn't waive in. New York had like 22 potential topics. New Jersey only had 6.
Oh, you're smart. You're
So I'm
smart.
like, forget
But you're
this.
originally from New York, though, right?
No. I grew up in New Jersey, born and raised in New Jersey.
North Jersey, though.
But I went to New York Law School.
No, but you're from North Jersey.
Yeah, North Jersey, right.
You have the accent. It could be like borderline New York.
Yeah, I'm definitely not near Philly.
Yeah, you're Jersey.
Yeah, I say coffee and dog and ball and
And
wall.
a bagel. Do you say bagel or bagel?
Bagel.
Oh, good. You said it right. Good. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Yeah,
bagel. Some people, so you said bagel. I'm like,
So that's what
a
happened.
bagel?
And I guess I just, I don't know. I just I didn't fall into law, but I just kind of stayed with that, after it just became natural for me. It was easy to find clients. I had all these people wanted to use me. I was like, well, why would I pass that up?
You had the built-in thing with your dad being in insurance. It's like,
Exactly.
all right, you had a market, you had people wanting to pay you.
Right.
And you had people that were willing to pay you your rate.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
Which, because, when you think about law, it's similar to being out as a general entrepreneur or web design and all that, is people always try to haggle you.
Right.
And sometimes you have to work with people. Sometimes it's like, all right, this guy doesn't have the budget for me.
Right.
So I want to work with them. So you'll mark things down,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But you got to make sure that, they understand that this is not your rate.
Yeah.
Like
I'm only at this point in my career, I'm only flexible to a point. Like,
yeah.
Because what I do is I do work for you and it takes me as much time as it takes to do work for someone else that I'm getting paid, 2 or 3 times the rate on. And it's just not, it's not worth it to me. I also do minimum fees. Like if I'm doing hourly work on a contract, I'm going to say, it's $4.95 an hour, but it's a minimum $1,500 or minimum $2,500.
Yeah, but make sure you know what you get, what you're worth. I mean,
exactly.
Because do you do per project base too? I mean, I know a lot of lawyers that do.
I do a lot of flat fee work. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't want to get out of bed for $500. Like that's not worth it.
No, but I know a lot of people when they hear hourly, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I can do document work or wills, trusts, anything on a flat fee, I can manage my own time. I have colleagues that give people an estimate and then it always comes in higher than the estimate and they're pissed off about it. So
that's the bad thing to do. I think I've always learned is that like figure out your hourly for it, then like times it by 3 or 4. And that usually covers any overages. And if it doesn't, all right.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. But I've been doing this long enough to know what I charge that it's going to generally cover my time. Has there been time where things blew up and I spent a lot of time? Yeah. Has there been times where things were very simple and it was quick? Yeah, absolutely.
Everything equals out.
Balances out. And clients are happier that way too. I mean, I have guys at big firms still. Clients get billed for like copies and, postage. I mean, it's stupid.
No, that I never liked. It's like copies are copies.
Right.
Are you going to get me my will? Put it on paper.
Build that into your fee. That should be part of it.
Build that into your fee, absolutely. Because you're an equitable and honest lawyer, which is good.
Yeah. Right.
You're not a Philly lawyer like these Philly lawyers.
Mad for you, Darcy, not me.
Oh, I know. I know.
My Philly guys.
I know a lot of good Philly lawyers. I mean, they're tough as nails in court, but they're good people. But they have they definitely earn that reputation.
Yeah,
Philly lawyers, they earn that, and so the same with New York. I mean, New York's not that very different from Philly.
No, not at all.
The rough and tumble, you get the stuff done. Do you do litigation? Do you actually no, you're
absolutely not.
That expression right there is worth its weight of the whole entire podcast. You're like,
no,
God,
the most I get involved with courts is eviction sometimes for clients, and maybe probate, but usually guardianship, stuff like that. But those are usually uncontested.
You go in there real fast, just say, we're done. Good.
Or it's decided on the papers. You don't even have a hearing. You just submit the papers, and you just
Because you do the estate side of things. I'm sure you have stories there too that you can't talk about, but love like wills and stuff like that.
You can't even imagine when people attack each other for the littlest things.
Over the littlest things, you look at that. So
yeah.
So when did you start the Accidental Entrepreneur podcast?
The podcast? On February of, it'll be 6 years next month. So
wow.
February of 2019, 9/6/15. Yeah.
Wow, you're an old hat at this.
Yeah, you think? Me and Joe Rogan. Yeah.
You and Joe Rogan. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing it longer, but I've not the same podcast that long. I think
No, you've
Entrepreneur's Enigma
changed?
is good. Entrepreneur's Enigma is going since 2021,
Okay.
but I've been
Oh,
podcasting since 2010.
oh, you've been doing it a long time.
I'm the second generation. I call myself a OG. Like my Evo Terra, Leo Laporte, they're
Yeah, no,
all like,
210 is definitely an OG.
yeah.
I didn't know
So
what a podcast was in 210, probably.
yeah, 2010 was actually Google Plus. If those people are
Yeah, which
watching
doesn't
us,
exist anymore, right?
yeah, Google Plus, the Google Plus Hangouts on the air and stuff like that. That's how used to do my podcast. It's fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, now it's what, Google Workspace, I think I use, and it's Google
Oh,
Meets and all that stuff.
all that stuff, my friend.
Yeah.
So when did you write this book? The 10 ways to get sued by anyone and
Yeah,
everyone.
the book came out like last spring. Probably took me 3 years to write it with Barry and
Always.
interviewing attorneys and stuff like that. If I didn't have Barry, I would have never written it. And then in the fall, I think we finished the audio version, so it's available.
Oh, even
on-
audiobook too. Did you read it?
Yeah, we read it. You can get it. It's on Audible. I don't know.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to check that out because
Yeah.
cause that's not like podcasting. I know
No,
authors, and
it's
like
hard. It's
you
hard to
read a
do, and you can't do it in
sentence.
one sitting. You can't read 12 hours of a book. It's just you can't physically do it. So you got it. We would do pieces of chapters together in the studio. Then we would come back next week, and he would
And then
edit
you
it.
listen back, and you have to reread a
Right.
sentence.
Then the
like
editing guy would send it back. We'd listen to it, approve it, and then we'd do the next one. But if you didn't do that, your voice would, it wouldn't be good.
Oh no, you would lose.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a voice at the end of
No.
12 hours.
No,
This is
no.
a 100-page book. This is not. This is not.
Yeah.
a
Can you imagine if
tome.
it's a 600-page book? These people read these big books. Yeah.
Oh my god! And people do this for a living too. Like I'm
Yeah.
like,
And those guys can definitely go longer than us, but they can't do it all in one sitting.
no, and plus you don't want to because you're
No.
gonna come back and you're fresh. You're ready
Yeah.
to go for an hour, take a break.
Yeah. You don't
I
realize
tried-
how your voice starts to stumble and you're flubbing your words now and your mouth's dry. It's hard. It's hard to do.
I try for
Interesting.
even podcasts.
Yeah.
I try to never do 2 in a day. I try to not do 2 of the episodes in a day.
Oh, I do too, but I always do one in the morning and one in the afternoon.
You break it up.
And
if
I don't do
can.
much of the talking. I let them do most of the talking. So
See, I like the kibitz. I'm a kibitzer. So
you're a
that's happening.
kibitzer, yeah. No,
I'm a
I
kibitzer.
interrupt but they kind of guide me through. I've always felt that if I'm going to do this and be it sustainable, I got to do it where I'm not coming up with questions and making up content. Like I can't do a podcast where it's just me talking every week. I would run out of content.
That's how Entrepreneurs Enigma started.
When it was just you?
It was me pontificating about being an entrepreneur. And I'm like, yeah, I've been an entrepreneur since 2008. But even I can't talk that much about myself.
Yeah, I mean, you go 5, 6, 10 episodes.
I went
you
10
can run that thing.
episodes.
There you go.
And episode 11 was my first interview show podcast.
Yeah.
I've been doing interview podcasts since 2010. I was like, let me try the solo podcast. No.
It's very hard. You need a team. During the pandemic, so when pandemic started, I thought, I don't know, maybe we'll be locked up for 6 weeks. I have no idea. 2 weeks,
geez.
right? So you're in your underwear and then you realize, oh my God, I better pretend like I'm alive so I can survive this. So I started doing this thing. It was called the Thursday morning update. It was 15 minutes. I would get on. It's still on YouTube. There's episodes. And I would for 15 minutes talk about some topic, right? Within thinking the pandemic was going to be over by June. But by the time the summer came around, I was so anxious every week. So by Wednesday, I'm like, what am I going to talk about today? Am I going to repeat something? I'm going to talk what's going on. So I would always have to come up with these topics to talk. And it's just me
and
talking into the mic with a background.
And ChatGPT wasn't out back then, or was
correct.
So you couldn't ask it give me some topics,
Right, exactly. So I had to come up with the topics, and I know what I talk about, what I do with clients, but what are the 15, maybe 20 topics at the most, and so after
100-page book worth. That's
right,
about what you have.
Weeks, yeah. So I stopped doing it.
You stopped doing that. So it's 2019, 2018. So how's the podcast been like for business for you?
Oh, for me, it's been very good. Yeah. I mean, it's content, right? I tell people, if you want to be relevant and you want people to follow you, you got to make content. And if you like writing, then blog and whatever. And I do blogging too. You need content out there. If you like to talk, do a podcast. But it's, you and I both know it's a lot of work. And I have help doing the editing. I don't know if you do.
I do the editing.
But I just did that in May. I hired a VA. Before that, I was doing it all myself.
Yeah, I still do
And
it myself.
yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't, you know what? A lot of people, when they really learn about what it takes to develop and do a nice podcast, even with the VA's help, I still have to record the commercials. I still have to run the show. I still have to download the files. I don't have to get the guests so much anymore. Now we just connect through Podmatch and booking agencies and
Yeah.
things like that. But
They find you very easily.
they find me. Once you have, 50, 80, 100 episodes, they find you.
Oh, they find you and they don't leave you alone. They're
Yeah,
like leeches.
right. No, I probably get 2 or 3 a day now. I used to get 2 or 3 a week.
I got you beat. I got
You
like
get more
15
than that?
I got like 15 to 20 some days.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And then some days I get none, and sometimes I
Yeah.
get one. But there's some days it's like everyone's
Enough.
like, today's the day to pitch podcasts.
Right.
Like,
No, you're right. You're right. Some days I get a lot more. So
it's wild. So you've gotten business from your podcast though.
yeah, because it's content out there and somebody hears the show and somebody mentions somebody else and they're like, oh, I need a business lawyer. Oh, yeah, no, I'm in New Jersey or New York, and they, somehow find me.
That's awesome.
So it's never direct, like you're a guest on the show, then you become a client.
I've gotten one that way.
Yeah, I've gotten like one that way also. That was it.
I've got
But most
one that
people
way.
are
I
out of
was
the area.
shocked. I was shocked. I was like, you want me to build you a website?
Yeah, but
Sure.
remember, you can work anywhere really in the world. I can only really work in New Jersey and New York.
Wait, because you can't work everywhere else? I mean, I thought if you don't go to litigation, you can do anything.
Well, it depends on the jurisdiction. It's kind of a gray area in a lot of states as to whether you're practicing law without a license if you're not admitted to the bar in the state in which you're doing your work.
Yeah.
So I don't really, and I don't know the laws in every state. So if if you're in Alabama, I'm not going to, I just had a friend of mine say, hey, I have a friend in Texas. He needs a will done. Well, I'm not going to do that because it's subject to Texas law, and I'm not going to do that. And they got to get it notarized, whatever. But I will, like if I have a client, Seth, in New Jersey, and let's say they're buying a business or a property in another state, I'll represent them because they're my client in New Jersey.
Yes, exactly.
But, and if I have to find them local counsel, I will. The one thing I do nationally is federal tax planning. So I'm involved in a couple of strategies where I'm the lawyer.
You in taxes. Jeez.
And I do, we do like kind of like deferred comp type of stuff. But if there's local taxes involved, they got to get local counsel, but I'll do the national stuff. That's the only time I really am comfortable being outside of my jurisdiction.
It makes sense because even if you did Alabama or Texas, you have to do all the legwork to figure out to do it right and all the I's.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And every state's a little bit different. So it's really not, even real estate, it's all different. Yeah. Pennsylvania's nuts.
The
Commonwealth. They might as well be in Iowa. I mean, they're just like next door, and it's so different than New Jersey, New York.
The weird shit, and we always got the explicit tag, however, the weird shit that this Commonwealth does that has me fill out.
Yeah.
And it's not like you look at Jersey.
Crazy.
Yeah, Jersey's got high property taxes. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, Jersey's got its own problems, but like the archaic
very archaic
laws
yeah
that businesses have to like dance around.
It's
ridiculous.
Yeah, they have not fixed any of that stuff.
It's a Commonwealth. We're not a state.
Right. We're not a state right now. I know. Nobody knows what that is. We're all states.
You're a star.
Look, in New York, if you're buying real estate, if you're selling a property, it's totally different than in New Jersey. In New Jersey, we go into contract. You go into contract, attorney review, you do an inspection. In New York, you do the inspection first before you go to contract. You look at the property, you check it out, and then you do the contract.
Things are weird.
Yeah, every state's a little bit different.
Beauty of America, my friend. Beauty of America.
But that's why, we're the only profession that's like landlocked to the states in which you're barred.
It kind of makes sense, though. It makes sense because then you're not like tripping over yourself, doing more research than you need to do for a contract and stuff like that. So Mitch, where can people find you online? Like, where's your biggest hangout? Like, where do you post a lot?
I post a lot on LinkedIn,
yes,
Facebook, Instagram. I think we have reels from the podcast.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
If you get on my mailing list, I put out a blog article, usually about business stuff, sometimes estates and real estate, but once a week on Tuesdays. But you got to get on my mailing list for that. If you go to beinhakerlaw.com is my law firm website. And then there's mitchbeinhaker.com, which is the podcast, the books. There's
all
a couple
the side
of books
stuff
on there. Yeah, exactly. Any of this stuff, like I'll put a link to this show on that so people can, see us or hear us or whatever they want to do. Exactly. That's the best way to find me. And if you get on my mailing list, then you'll hear about the podcasts, hear about the blog articles. You'll hear everything.
You're as busy as I am, dude. You do a lot of.
Well, I got a VA. It was crazy.
You have to get a VA. Yeah, I have to do a VA. My whole problem is I have to figure out how to do the SOPs and write the stuff down because right now it's all in my brain. Because
I had to create an entire guide so she could do the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's daunting to
with
me.
screenshots and everything. It wasn't that bad, but it took a couple of days.
It took a couple days.
Yeah.
So Mitch, we'll have all those links in the show notes.
Yeah.
We'll have a link to Amazon where you can pick up the book.
Please,
Pick
absolutely.
up this book because you'll realize how many mistakes you're actually making.
Yeah.
And then go talk, if you're in Jersey or New York, go talk to Mitch because he'll
Right.
help you untangle the stuff you made
Hopefully.
mistake. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I mean, literally in this book, I was reading this, I'm like, oops.
You know,
Oops.
the biggest thing you take away from the book is put things in writing.
Yes.
Don't do things on a handshake. I don't care who it is. I mean, if you have a grocery store, you can't ask customers to sign a contract. But if you're dealing with
the receipts. Have you read the
partners,
receipts?
yeah, receipts have little things in them. Yeah.
Huh.
But
But
you
if
know
you-
what I mean? Like, so if you have a business partner, have an operating agreement. If you're dealing with vendors, have a contract. You know, that type of stuff.
Even simple. Even like,
You're
you
right.
know,
Simple stuff.
my lawyer told me once, he's like, if you're going to do anything at all, get it in writing.
Yeah.
Just get it in writing, even if
Of
it's not,
course.
even if it's not legalese or it's not.
At least you have evidence that there was
You
some
have
sort of an
something
agreement.
that's it's not verbal.
Right.
'Cause verbal,
Exactly.
it's not. We're not talking about you're trading an ox for a pig anymore.
Right.
And
Exactly.
on that note, on ox and the pig, we'll see everyone next week.
All right. Thanks, Seth.
That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please consider giving us a review in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps us reach new listeners. If you like Entrepreneur's Enigma, consider the other shows on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net.
Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.